All right, as we switch gears now here at the KFYR Plus News Desk, daylight savings time is disrupting our internal clocks, but light remains our most powerful biological regulator. Integrative cognitive health expert Scott Blossom is with us this morning to explain how sunlight shapes metabolism, mood, and sleep, and how simple light-based habits can ease now the transition this weekend. Scott, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So you describe light as our most powerful health tool. Can you explain why light has such a profound influence on human biology?
The bottom line is that it's because our biology runs on light, not clocks. And so changing the time arbitrarily by 1 hour not only influences our sleep and our energy, but it's also going to influence stress hormones, our metabolism, our mood, and it can even influence reproductive cycles.
What are the biggest biological disruptions people experience when the clocks shift for this weekend's daylight savings time?
There's a couple, and the main one is you tend to get stress hormones that are rising at night when they should be falling to prepare you for sleep, and melatonin levels that decrease right at the time when you need them most. And the second one is that when we get sleep thrown off, it also can affect the way that we regulate blood glucose and insulin, which can lead to fatigue and cravings and kinds of, just throwing off our metabolism.
Okay. How does light exposure influence the key metabolic hormones like cortisol and insulin and leptin?
Yeah, when you're the most important practice during this transition to really adapt is to try to get early morning light within a half hour of waking up. It's skylight. You don't have to look at the sun, but just to get skylight, because cortisol and insulin have a very intricate relationship. And so it's going to set how you process glucose, how your insulin signaling works. And the outcome of that is going to regulate your energy, your satiety, as you mentioned, leptin, when you're eating meals, and more or less give you a much more efficient metabolic pathway through the day than if you have this irregular exposure or a disturbance to the circadian rhythms, which is the biological rhythms of getting light exposure.
Is there a link between circadian misalignment and weight gain or reduced metabolic efficiency?
Absolutely. It's very interesting that you asked that, because there was some research that came out where they were actually, it was an animal study, but they were giving two sets of rodents the same diet, and all they changed was the circadian alignments. And one group was gaining weight, showing indigestion, the biological signs that things were thrown off, and the group where the circadian alignment was kept steady was able to digest that food and metabolize it in a balanced way. And so the outcome was some kind of correlation that your circadian rhythms have maybe as powerful of an influence as the food you're eating.
Okay, Scott, the $10,000 question is why do some people feel, I guess we'll put it in quotes, off for days after this 1 hour clock shift over the weekend? What is happening neurologically and hormonally?
Yeah, it's the question there is, it goes back to when you have this combination of the disturbance to the circadian rhythms, the disturbance to the stress hormone cycling that's proper, because you're supposed to have your cortisol levels rise first thing in the morning and taper all the way through the day so you sleep well, that combined with the disruption to the metabolic processes can actually set up neuroinflammation that is subtle but impactful, that can last for days or weeks, which is why my main advice is be very consistent in the sense of stay with your clock timings for eating and sleeping. And you might be a little more awake when you're trying to go to bed for a few days, and you might be a little sleepier when you wake up. But by being very consistent, that's how you can really reduce and mitigate the neurological inflammation, the metabolic, and then the other factors that are getting disturbed by this very arbitrary change in timing.
hmm Some researchers, Scott, argue that DST disruptions are minor and brief. Is it possible we might be over exaggerating the biological impact?
Well, that is a great question. And my sense of it is that there are so many factors that there would be a reasonable argument to say that if you fixate only on circadian rhythms and then you catastrophize, that would be problematic. But simultaneously, our circadian rhythms are one of our most root biological regulating influences. And just a few years ago, there was a Nobel Prize given in science for really helping us to appreciate that more robustly, just how powerful these cycles are.
What evening habits help protect melatonin production and improve sleep depth during the transition this weekend?
Another great question, so my advice is that what you need to do is start planning your evening at sunset and have reduced light, reduced screen time. You have to talk your body into going to bed an hour earlier because the clocks have been arbitrarily changed. So the best practice is be very consistent with reducing how much light exposure you're having after sunset from screens of all kinds, and practice things that are relaxing. You might take baths, you might take walks, you might do enjoyable things with friends that have a soothing effect on you, because you're going to need a little extra support to be ready to go to bed, to get your alignment with the circadian rhythms back in check.
So my question here, Scott, is that I have a sleep schedule that I go to bed roughly 10:30 p.m. and 5:30, just about 5:30 every morning, I wake up whether I need an alarm clock or not. Weekends, same thing, 5:30. I at least peek an eye out, look at the clock. It's 5:30. I can go back to sleep on the weekends generally. With
Yes.
this change now, with this change, am I going to be seeing at 6:30? I'm like, uh-oh, it's 6:30. I might be late for work. What's going to happen to my internal clock?
Exactly. It's because your body doesn't care about this time change. It only cares
Yeah.
about the biological rhythms and things like light. It's going to feel like 4:30 when you wake up. And then so your best strategy is wake up, do your routine as normal. So my recommendation is stay with your routine. And then what you might do is make sure that turn on the lights really brightly, do some vigorous exercise, do some things that are going to stimulate you at that time to
Hmm.
basically let your body know that there's a new regimen happening, and this, in my opinion, unfortunate daylight savings practice that we have, that I hope we do away with eventually, is you are adapting as if you had traveled to a new place that was an hour ahead. And therefore, your biology just needs to catch up. And so the best way to get caught up is to get with the program from day one and stay with your timings.
Scott, my brain hears you. My body thinks go back to sleep for another hour. That's that's what it's telling me.
Well, that's a good point. And hopefully we should probably start doing daylight savings on a Friday so people can sleep those first 2 days and kind of let things settle in more gently.
Yeah. Okay. As we head into this daylight savings time weekend, what's the one simple light-related habit that you believe could make the biggest difference in people's well-being if they start tomorrow?
It's to get that morning skylight within a half hour of waking up. So it doesn't matter what your waking time is. Some people wake up later, some people like yourself or myself wake up early, but within a half hour, you want to get some skylight, even if it's dawn and it's just the beginnings of the skylight.
Okay, integrative cognitive health expert Scott Blossom, thank you so much for your insight today. I sure appreciate it, sir.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
You got it. All right, quick break here at the news desk. We'll be right back here to KFYR Plus.